What's up guys, and welcome to this week's video. Probably look like a hobo because I literally just got back from class. So oftentimes when I speak, especially at universities and stuff, people always say, do you think your education or being in college is important or necessary or a reason that you were able to start a business? And so I wanted to make a video on this because it's a question I get asked a lot, and people from all different areas ask me questions. So we're gonna get into that. There might be a lot of content, but hopefully this helps you guys out, especially if you guys are younger and thinking about college. So first thing about me, I am a senior now. I'm graduating in May, and I am studying finance. So I'm in the business school, but I am not an entrepreneurship major. And I have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurship majors, and I have a lot of people who assume I am an entrepreneurship major because I've started businesses. I'm just gonna give a quick background as to why I chose to study finance and not entrepreneurship or anything else creative that would make me more interested. And this is just my personal story. I'm sure everyone has their reasons for doing things, but I chose finance because I always knew I wanted to start a business. And the truth is, you learn by doing, and you can read as many books as you want on entrepreneurship and do all these studies and stuff like that, but there's nothing that's the same as starting it and getting into it and doing that entire thing. And so I realized if I needed a backup plan, I need to pick up a job, why not at least get a degree in something that's practical and kind of always hiring? So I picked finance because it could be applied to literally any field, and since I still love startups, I figured I could always apply a finance degree to working for a VC company or something like that and still be able to leverage my degree along with my passions. So that's why I picked finance, and it is in the business school, so that I will say has helped in terms of understanding things conceptually. Now again, I do want to remind you guys, all of these opinions that I'm saying in this video are completely mine. There are people who have done things completely differently, and I'm sure educators and people who work for universities or professors and stuff like that might disagree with my statements. Students might disagree with my statement. Parents will probably disagree with what I'm saying. Again, I just want to say that these are all of my opinions, and so did you hear that? Take it with a grain of salt and just understand that this is just the way I feel. I chose to study, I always knew I wanted to study business in college because TBH, I wasn't good at science or math or English, and business was another really good field to be in, and I felt like I could understand that. And so I decided to go in as a business major. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you're a finance major, so that probably has helped you so much with building a business and creating financial documents and blah, 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 blah. At least for me, I started my business so early on into my education that for example, we didn't learn how to build financial documents until courses I took junior and senior year. I started a business my sophomore year, and so I had to learn all of that before I even got into that in my coursework. Second, being a finance major teaches you how to manage corporate clients. They basically train you to be, an analyst or someone who works for a giant company like JP Morgan or a Wells Fargo or something like that, where they want you to be managing millions, hundreds of millions of dollars and looking at statements like that. It's not on a small scale like a startup. So while looking at, forecasting and stuff like that are things that I have since learned been able to do, they've been applied on a much larger scale compared to a smaller startup scale. And again, all these classes, especially college classes, are geared more towards prepping you to be a really good, employable person. They want you to get a job, and they want you to learn the skills that you would need to get a job. But those don't always include things like leadership and thinking creatively and thinking on your feet, because that's not what you do in an entry-level position. You go in to do the job that you were hired to do, not to always come up and create and think of ideas, which is something that entrepreneurship does, where it really just challenges and keeps you moving, thinking on your feet, thinking creatively, which is a lot of fun. Again, this is me speaking from a finance major perspective, and even though entrepreneurship and finance are both offered at my university, I've only ever taken one entrepreneurship class, which I loved and had a lot of fun in, but from my coursework standpoint, I personally wouldn't say it has led me or made me a better businesswoman, because I've chose this major or because I am in business school. That's one thing I wanted to address to you guys. And honestly, you find a lot of people, I mean, I can't even think of top CEOs who have like majored in entrepreneurship or even have come from a notable business school or something. I mean, there are obviously, duh. Not like, you know, the top largest pools all come from coveted business schools or business school programs or studied entrepreneurship or something like that to start the businesses that they did. A lot of them just came starting their businesses because they loved it and they had a passion for it. And that's the biggest thing at the end of the day, is you understand what you do, you understand your industry, you understand how it works, and then you go and fix problems within that. With all that being said, I think picking a major in college should be completely up to you. In my personal opinion, I would say major in something where you're at least gonna get your degrees worth out at the end. Like, I don't know, I'd major in something where you know the job feels at least promising. But again, this is just me. I'm not your mom or your dad. Also, I know a lot of people who have been interested in starting businesses. They're like, oh, I don't think I want to go to college, and I don't want to go to college. And that's totally fine if that's something you want to do. I can literally hear parents being like, what? One of my best friends is a proud college dropout, and she's killing it right now. But there are people where you might feel that you just need to go to college. I'm definitely one of them. I mean, aside from my parents it wasn't even highly encouraged, it kind of was just assumed I would go to college. And quite honestly, I felt the same way. I always saw myself going to school. And I think having some basic type of undergrad degree, I think, is always important, because worst case scenario, you can always get a job and you at least have an educational background to fall back on. However, I will say you learn so much more by starting a business, and that's so hands-on that you would never get that same level from your classes ever. Like, you can take an intro to marketing class, but they will never teach you about the level of SEO and the level of like PR and the level of marketing and the level of like outreach that you would have to do if you actually had a company. They teach you very top level stuff, and if I only used the stuff I applied from my intro to marketing class, I would never have gotten anywhere with my business, like ever. I think it's totally your call if you do choose that college is the option for you. I know that there are people who are like, I can't do college, I don't want to do college, but you need to figure out ways to still be able to run your business. I will say, like, as much as I'm like, my classes don't really teach me anything and my classes are not the reason for me starting my business, I just learn as I go, which is true. I do think being in the environment of school has gifted me so many awesome friends. I have a ton of startup friends who I would have really never met otherwise if I didn't meet them through going to startup events, which is another thing. My school is pretty big on entrepreneurship, so it's nice that I can still go to events and still hear about things going on in the Philadelphia area and attend them, even though I'm not an entrepreneurship major, but I have a business and I can still go to those things. And those are definitely opportunities that you can get by being in school. Now, they are, a lot of them, public, so I wouldn't say that being at a university per se is the only way that you can go to certain events. You can totally Google them and see what's going on in the area and meet other people, go to competitions, stuff like that. But being at a university does help because it's a little bit more grouped together, I want to say. But I would say more than anything, just meeting a cool network of people. I mean, my startup friends, I can't wait to see what we kind of accomplish in the next like 5 to 10 years. I feel like that'll be insane to just look back and be like, remember when we didn't know what we were doing? Yeah, we still don't, but at least we're here now. One other perk I will absolutely share about being a college student starting a business is, actually there's so many perks. One, I would say it's the absolute best time to start one. You have 4 years of literally a safety net. I mean, I get like you might have to work and stuff to cover your rent and that kind of thing, but you have classes and stuff as like a fallback option. Like, you can literally run a company without having to work full time. And then if your company doesn't work out for whatever reason, you realize you don't like it, like, you're still in classes and you still have your entire future ahead of you because you haven't even started it yet. So I definitely think that like being in college and starting a business is like the prime and best time for you to do it. The second reason is you can get so many resources by being a college student, from like free to discounted legal services to free to discounted domains and website hosting to free to discounted places to use, whether that's labs, accelerator spaces, co-working spaces, just ample amounts of help. Everyone wants to help you. If you're like a 20-something-year-old college kid, everyone's like, yes, let me help you. You can get an ample amount of mentors. Just so many people are willing to offer you their services for free just because they know that you're so young and you're already so driven to make a change in the world. Aside from those, I know I've even used being at school or like my ID to get into these some more like exclusive events that like normally people can't get into, but they're like, oh, if you're a college student, we can either discount the price or make it free for you to go to. And these are like pretty top tier things that only like certain people get invited to. So I would definitely use all of those perks to your advantage. And I always tell people, if you are in college, I think this is the absolute best time to start a business because, like I said, you don't really have to, the real world hasn't hit you yet. Do you realize that? Like, you can do literally whatever you want in this time period and be more than okay. I guess long story short, I personally do not believe that you need college to start a business whatsoever. I do think that you should always stay learning though, so whether that means you're going to be in college or you're going to do this on your own, you need to still have that ability to want to learn and figure things out. I mean, by starting a business, you learn finance, you learn marketing, you learn like supply chain, you learn literally every single thing offered in the school, but at your own level, and it's way more hands-on because you have to do everything. And honestly, I think that's beautiful and magical, and I think it's really cool that like at the end of the day, I probably know more than Joe Schmo in my class who is just really good at reading textbooks. That's kind of my take on if I think college is necessary to start a business. It absolutely is not. There are thousands of different ways to start businesses, but I will say I do know a good amount of people who have started businesses in college and never looked back. I mean, I always say starting a business is the best experience you can ever have, and I stay true to that. Whether it works out or not, you got the best experience that a job will literally never be able to give you. I hope that this helped you guys, and especially if you guys are younger and are kind of on the brink of thinking about college, or you're in college and you're just not sure if you have time to start a business, start one. You won't be wrong. And or if you're thinking about dropping out, I can't really attest to that because I'm going to graduate in a few months, but whatever you choose to do, I hope that you guys are successful in your endeavors, and that's pretty much it. As always, please make sure you like this video if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you aren't already. I'll see you guys later. Bye!